Well, I'm going to call the meeting to order. It's 07:32 on 11/15/2022 for SELCO's monthly meeting for the month of November. With that said, the first thing we have is that we do not have any bill schedules or warrants to approve today. So we'll move to the next agenda item, which is review and consider approval of meeting minutes of October 18th, 2022. Do we have any comments or corrections?
I don't have any.
If not, can I have a motion to accept the minutes as submitted?
So moved.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. The item 4 is review and consider approval of the revised power supply policy. Mr. Roy, I will turn that over to you, sir.
Okay. I will just go through the high-level adjustment here. So, by way of a quick summary, last year we voted in the power supply policy. One of the provisions in that policy was to have an annual review for any particular updates that may or may not be needed, depending on just changes in the power supply environment. So one thing that we thought was worthy of attention for this round was a slight adjustment, in my opinion, just to clarify portfolio percentages with respect to the resource. So in the existing language, as you can see in the memo, there's a target of no more than 20% of total energy needs should be supplied via any single contract. So that assures that we have contract diversity in the portfolio, kind of minimizing the financial risk from any one resource. So, but there's an interesting component that I think is worth consideration is also the ownership side. And so this recommended adjustment just kind of builds on that 20% guideline is to also specify that we don't want too much to come from any one generating resource. So the first stipulation there is no more than 30% of our portfolio should be sourced from one generation facility. So potentially avoiding, I don't know, I wouldn't call it a loophole, but just a lack of clarity on if we had multiple contracts that were all with the same generating facility. If that one facility went down, now we're exposed to market risk from that one facility, even though it might be split up into multiple contracts. So this just clarifies that we don't want to have too much of our portfolio in any one particular asset. And then secondly, it just provides more clear guidance on total energy portfolio hedge. And so we just added in here 75 to 85%, just to provide guidance into the future for kind of a target range for hedging. A lower hedge is advantageous in times of low market rates, and a higher hedge is good in today's world where prices continue to escalate. Those are the high-level talking points. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions from any of the members? It seems like we're just, yes, sir, Mr.
I just have a few questions.
Sure.
For various aspects of this memo. I mean, I think at the core it makes a lot of sense.
Sure.
Protection, particularly in the environment we're in now. But relative to the process with MWEC in the actual agreements, what's the cadence of the agreements, and what is the role of SELCO versus the role of MWEC in that process of securing those contracts?
Sure, great question. So MWIC is I've historically described it as the broker.
Yeah.
So we use this document not only internally for our power supply strategy, but also we provide it to MWIC so they're aware of what we're trying to do with respect to the the same procurement strategy. So they do two things. They go out and find contract opportunities We try and do that internally, but they obviously have their hand in the power supply world more actively than we do, so we rely on them to bring opportunities forward to us, and then they leverage a document like this to see where those opportunities might fall with respect to our portfolio. They monitor our hedging position, and they help do that analysis to make sure we're, in this particular recommendation, falling within the 75 to 80%. 75 to 85% range, and then they execute the contracts on our behalf. One of the talking points I have in the GM highlights is we engaged with them to go fill our unhedged position further to lock in those prices, and so that was, our directive to them to go and participate in the marketplace and secure the best price to do that.
Mm-hmm. And how long are the duration of those agreements?
They vary.
Yeah.
So we try and have that layered hedge strategy. So when, we have it lined up, so that way when contracts are expiring, we have new contracts coming into play. And it's kind of a rolling basis. And because of the MWIC model, we have an additional layer in there of ownership that we have to keep track of. So some MLPs have a purchase power agreement only model, where it's just contractual obligations. We have the additional complexity, if you will, of having an ownership stake in some assets and a contractual stake in others.
Okay. Do you have a sense of the cost to the ratepayer, the capacity contracts versus like the various elements of the contracts that you have to engage in? What are you seeing the capacity creep up and become a bigger piece of the pie over time?
Great question. So I would say it varies, but the short answer would be yes. Today, as we've, I guess, probably everyone's aware of by now, the energy prices are increasing out of control in many ways. But yes, capacity prices go up. A constant is the transmission costs are always that slice of the pie, and so I have to double check. We do try and maintain that pie chart on our website. So I just have to double check that we've updated it, within the last 6 months. But that's always a good graphic, and yes, the capacity charges are going up, but we've seen some recent capacity auction bids that show either stable or declining prices. So they go ebb and flow, I guess.
Yep. And then my last question is relative to the greenhouse gas or the GGES
Yes.
policy, and
Sure.
maybe just a quick refresher. The 100% by 2032. I looked through what I had and didn't seem to find anything, but do we have like the modeling associated with that decision that led to that decision of expectation of cost and I guess expectation of rec pricing at that point in time? And
Another great question. So we do. That's one of the things we leverage. Back to your prior question, we leverage MWIC to provide obviously the current market pricing for RECs. That's also one of the intents behind the clause for annual review, is because getting to 100% by 2032 is so reliant on RECs, and RECs are a market product. If the REC pricing goes haywire, that's where the intent was to bring it back to the board to say, okay, what would we like to do? Would we like to slow our progression to 2032? Would we like to raise rates? Would we like to stay the course and adjust with a GTA component? We're not there yet. We haven't seen massive price swings in RECs compared to the model. It is in our GTA or PCA, if you will, spreadsheet that we share when we do our well, right now, semi-annual review of GTA, but we do monitor that, and if we saw, adverse financial impacts, we'd bring it back here.
Yeah, because I think, in any of these things, looking 10 years, 12, 20 years ahead, there's a lot of assumptions. on Availability of recs, pricing, right? We're not, these
Yes.
things always concerns me a little bit. Like, just in general, the far-reaching, just because there's so many variables at play in the development of these resources right now that I'm fearful. It's the business I live in right now, and I look at it and I say, that's a lot of juice we got to get built by these dates. So,
Nope, totally agree, and I think just to add to that a little bit, right now, because we've been leveraging hydro recs, so far those have been helpful. We have our speaking generally for obvious reasons, we have several, a few projects on the docket that are energy and recs. So we're still, depending on when those come online, some are obviously offshore wind that everyone has seen in the news, but some are local solar projects that are solar recs plus energy. So the ultimate goal is to displace the variability of these recs with bundled products, solar plus recs. And so we're actively managing that, and absolutely there could be a time where we have to rethink the strategy. But right now, we've been able to secure the recs at reasonable prices, and there are still opportunities at our doorstep that provide a bundled product. So
we're able to procure inside of all of ISO New England territory to get credit, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, so some of these, and that's where, I've been encouraging MWIC to, continue to pursue these contracts, not just, obviously we want to be a partner in offshore wind and things like that, but, I've engaged with folks from Maine to New Hampshire to Vermont, and some of that goes back to the whole transmission situation, and we had one opportunity in New Hampshire, and that there was a transmission constraint, and we couldn't get that project to go. But right now, things are okay. But
What's happening with offshore wind? Is that progressing
it is.
slowly?
Big step back this week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. One project's moving forward. The original Vineyard Wind project. They just kind of put their nose down and going. Avant-Grid with Mayflower, Mayflower Wind just went back, is basically going back to the DPU right now, requesting an adjustment in their price of their contract that they have before them, because now they're starting to pencil it out.
Right.
They've had complete turnover in the entire company. There's not much of an appetite. And if the department says, no, go pound sand, my understanding of the law
Get it.
is start from scratch, which requires a whole new procurement process, a whole new, sets us back 3 years. So,
Yeah, would they also still have to go into licensing as well and permitting before you can even go into
if
procurement?
it's a different project,
Yeah,
right?
So
Yeah,
you've now a whole
exactly.
new cast of characters.
It's a nightmare. Yeah.
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 Well, I think getting back to ours on the discussion of the next 10 years, I think you've got a plan that's in place. It's something that we review semi-annually or continually, but it has, as we note each 6 months or a year that there's a correction or revision that has to be made, we address that. We let the consumer know, hey, we can keep on schedule, but it's going to cost you X amount of extra millions of dollars or whatever in rates.
Yep.
But we at least have that goal that's set, and we understand that while it's written in warm jello based on costs today, it could be, it's still, that's the goal that we have, and that's what we're pushing for. So,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, the question I had, though, is my understanding of the annual review is just to look at the original benchmarking and get some kind of understanding as, are we on track to benchmarking, why or why not, and are we hitting the percentage, why or why not, and what percentage are we hitting? I'm not seeing that in this review, but I don't know if that's what you're intending to do at a different date.
Yes, so we, I guess if I'll mush two topics together. So we're anticipating our successor to Jackie to start December 1. And so that individual, in some of the slight modifications we made to the job description, will do exactly that. So we provided in the past, we provided different scenarios based on different percentages of RECs, different class RECs. So you could decide, do you want hydro RECs? Do we want to incorporate nuke or solar? And so all that modeling will be there. It's just, well, we'll have the resources to do it in a few weeks.
Okay.
Get the cheapest ones.
Is there any other questions on the revised power or supply policy? And if not, can I have a motion to accept the revised power supply policy?
So moved.
Second?
Second, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Nope. Okay, with that said, we'll move on to the review and consider approval of the cable rate adjustment, another popular topic.
Yeah.
Again, Mr. Roy, I prefer to you.
All right. I would like to just start with a quick expression of appreciation. This is a memo that Jackie was able to orchestrate, I think, on her very last day. So I just wanted to give her credit for, right up until the end, getting things done. So here it's basically our I would call it a fairly standard annual increase. There's nothing in particular driving this aside from the usual broadcaster increases that we face year over year. I don't think I'm violating any agreements by generally saying, here we're seeing in society, massive increases in consumer price index and inflation. But at least since I've been involved, every time we go to broadcaster negotiations, it's like 40% rate increase, 50%, like what? Where are these coming from? So we do our best to negotiate that down, and these are basically the reflection of a pass-through of the costs that we incur from increased broadcaster charges for each channel. And as you see here, part of the contracts for each channel stipulate which packages they're included in. So the pricing is a reflection of the channels that are included in each package. So you see basic cable rates, expanded basic cable, and so on and so forth. So that's where each of these line items come into play, because each reflect the channels. Overall, it's to add some context, we included the backdrop of internet-only subscribers and cord cutting. So we included the chart there for folks to reference with respect to how people are consuming this product, and just again the rising programming cost. And
we're not dropping any current channels that we conduct, right? So every once in a while, we'll just say we're not going to pay that price, and we'll drop it. We don't.
Any pushback on the channels you remove, the Asian channels and all?
No, that was a huge. I think that's also in the GM highlights.
Yeah.
I can hit that, but yep, no, that was a success.
Yeah.
The video on demand. Again, I think that was another very helpful move, and that shaved, I would call it, a fairly significant amount from the expense budget. So that was good, and no one really noticed.
Okay. So,
Well, should we say what they are?
yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
So bottom
we
line, can we
announce
give
what
a
it
kind of a wrap-up of what the actual rates are? So expanded basic, we said goes up $1, but what's that rate now going to be on a monthly rate?
Sure.
Did somebody on the crack staff specifically direct that?
First page. Yep. So basic cable rates currently are $32. They'll go to $33. That's an increase of $1. Expanded basic cable, $58 to $67. And so that expanded basic service, just as a reminder, we add that in there as well, that expanded basic service requires a basic subscription, so they build on one another. Total cost for the service, including basic, changes from $90 to $100, so that's an increase of $10 overall for the required subscriptions you need to have to get that package. TiVo packages went from $108.75 to $118, so that's another $10 per month increase on that particular package, and that includes the basic and expanded and digital and HD tiers. The franchise fee, which is a more general recovery for the costs incurred for franchise-related charges, that's just a 25-cent provision to help balance some of the costs that are part of that arrangement. Maintain the bundle discount of $20 per month, just to help offset that and encourage people to bundle more services and get that financial benefit. I won't skip, I'll just cover them all. Commercial expanded basic increases from $115 to $125, that's another $10 round number, and commercial TiVo from $140.95 to $150. So both of these reminds me, we have 2 current retransmission channels under negotiation. This includes estimates for what the end result of those negotiations will be. However, we think we have a pretty good idea, and wherever we land, we took the conservative approach, so there won't be we wouldn't have to come back for another increase. So that's included there. The other one's interesting, the bulk, expanded bulk cable rates at $16 per room, and expanded bulk at $58. That's only available to existing bulk customers only. There are very few in Shrewsbury that would qualify for this anyway.
Is that like a bar or something?
Or more like
Hotel.
motel.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there might be, so there is a clause in there for 60 days notice. With our Minerva platform, there could be some challenges. So, they could pursue other options for bulk that would support.
So what you're saying in the future is that as Minerva comes into effect, which is fiber, and we wouldn't have this cable option for them, that they'll have to work something else with us,
Yes.
either via Minerva or otherwise with an outside contractor.
Yes.
Because it's account-based, there's a maximum stream limit of 7 right now for
I
us.
see.
So you could,
Yep.
in theory, have 7 active streams, where some of these customers have like 20 cable boxes
Sure.
in the whole hotel room or motel room.
There we go. And then just some of these things also change as we more actively deploy Minerva, but we have no rate increase required for digital or HD service on the Minerva platform. All channels are HD, so that's included in the rate. And item 9's covered.
And for now, the senior discount still exists.
And for now.
Is there, on the HD, is there a reason why we still have like 2 and then 302? It looks like there's,
Yeah,
and
that goes away with Minerva.
oh, okay.
But the reason for that is because of the DTAs.
DTAs,
Yes.
which is
Like the small.
Those
cable
little
box
boxes they
stream.
plug in for regular analog TV.
Oh, okay.
Remember those?
Yeah.
You get for 50
Well, I
cents
remember that
each.
we had like the.
There's still people that use
the
them.
2 to whatever was non-HD and the 302 was HD, but now everything's HD, so it doesn't make sense we have all these channels, and it's much easier if we didn't have them all.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
when you try the Minerva app, it will be all HD or 4K or whatever
Okay.
your TV can handle.
Sounds great.
Anything else on the cable rates? No?
Just
Anybody
one
else
question.
questions?
Once we do roll out, as we're talking about pricing, what is the price, are these just gonna carry over? Is it the same, do we anticipate the packages and the bundles to be similar? Well, there's not gonna be as many packages, right, because it's a different product at the end of the day.
Oh, when you go into Minerva, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's gonna be a separate issue.
S-
The separate fees, you're not gonna have the standard basic slant?
Right.
No, there still will be
Oh,
standard.
oh, sorry, okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be
Yeah.
the exact same packages, so there'll be like streaming basic, streaming expanded, streaming what we call select, which is the digital package that we have now. But the positive with the Minerva stuff is it's in HD, there is no standard def, and it comes with DVR. It comes with a lot more options, so it's actually better, and you save on box fees.
Yeah.
So there is no box fees once you get into
Yeah.
the Minerva stuff. It's
Good.
just bring your own device.
Most of this cost embedded in this is really the subscription fees, and that's not gonna change, right?
Correct.
Okay. Got it.
The biggest thing is the channel lineups, those packages all come over the same, but there's only 3 packages now. Because we don't have to have like silly packages for standard definition and HD, and it gets confusing, it's just 3, right? How many channels do you want, 1, 2, or 3, right? And that's your option.
And just, oh, sorry.
So the schedule that says that we offer 87 channels, is that like the basic or the expand, like,
That's expanded.
Expand.
it's expanded basic? Okay. Because it seems like we have a lot more, we offer a lot more than.
Yeah,
other-
some of those are doubled, right, so just like Mike
It's like
said,
it's
it
like the
was
singles, the
2
numbers,
and
and then you got
302.
the 300s and the 200s and 400s.
They're all the same channel, except for one's in standard def and the other's in high def. This will all be high def.
But it's still 87 channels.
Yeah, there's a,
With
if you go to the
duplication.
next package
With
up, there's a few more, but,
Okay.
yeah.
With duplication mean,
I don't know if it's apples and
No.
oranges. It sounds like we're counting 87, but we're duplicate, is this
No,
duplication?
no, no,
No,
there's
there's not
87
duplication.
in
Not
the
duplication.
expanded basic, but if you have the 2 and 302, essentially you get an extra 2, you know, it's not counted in the 87, but you do duplicate in this next package up.
Like Discovery is 1 channel, but
Yeah.
you could have a standard Discovery and a high-def Discovery.
Right.
So we count it as 1.
Currently, but that'll change.
Yeah.
But you guys sound like a bunch of car salesmen.
I know, right? 87 is 87
Sounds good,
channels, like,
man.
right?
Right now is
Okay.
87, yeah.
It is 87.
Getting back
Seems
to
like we
the,
have more right now because they're double, but it's
Yeah.
87.
Okay,
And it
yeah.
will be 87.
okay. And I'm just saying, because like, if you look at this, at that little schedule, it seems like we offer a lot more. I just want to bring that to light, that we are offering a lot more than other packages
Yes.
that are out there.
Yep.
Okay.
But I guess I don't have the understanding, maybe this was met with asking, I don't know. All right. Will pricing go up with Minerva, or are these set prices and it kind of seamlessly, goes into the Minerva pricing as well?
All the same. Option B, it seamlessly moves over. Maybe an interesting, noteworthy point is the contracts not only stipulate, and this was a learning component for me, the contracts not only stipulate pricing, but it also stipulates where the channel is placed. So we don't have the flexibility to say, okay, we want 10 channels in basic and 20 in expanded. Part of the contract is you must put, almost like product placing in the grocery store, I guess is.
We've had that all along, though.
Yeah, so we're very restricted based on existing contractual language on where the channels are placed.
Yep.
So they have to just move over as is.
You said it's gonna be the same price, but if you take out some of the price of the boxes, wouldn't it go down a little bit?
Yes.
Some of-
Yes, you'll
Like some
save,
people are paying a lot in
Yeah.
box
Yes.
rental fee, because they'll have 5 cable boxes in their house.
Yeah.
So.
What is it, that the first 1 or 2 is free? I don't recall having a box
It's,
rental fee on my bill.
yeah, in the DTA, you get,
3.
3 free.
Okay, that's why.
So, yeah, but then as soon as you go into the DVR or digital high def, then you get into box fees.
Yes,
And
I see.
TiVo, you get a box fee. So this will save all of that. You'll just either bring your own device, or you can get a Fire TV stick from us for a cost. But you'd be able to just put it on every TV and just watch up to 7 streams if you order 7
Yeah.
streams.
The base package is 3 streams, so you could have 3 active TV sessions at a time, but you could pay to go to 5 or 7.
Oh, interesting. And what's our revenue right now on box fees? Do we know? I mean, is this a revenue loss to us or hit?
It is. So box fees, so this is the no, because there's a cost associated with this, but the actual revenue with box fees is close to $1 million.
Oh, really?
And, but there's an expense component, so the net, I don't know off the top of my head. But there is, generally speaking, I'd say there is going to be a revenue reduction because of the box fee.
Revenue deduction and maybe a profit deduction?
Yes.
Because on the margin. Okay.
But you also save on the renewing of the boxes,
Right.
'cause that can be a problem. We were limited in how many people we could use in some of these facilities because we
should
didn't have
see
enough
a-
boxes.
We should see a significant change there only because generally a lot of our truck rolls are related to box related
Yes.
issues. So it's like hardware replacements, we're buying, especially in the TiVo platform, we're buying brand new TiVo boxes that are expensive because they're, dying quickly. In our old boxes, we won't have to worry about that.
Yeah, yeah. There's a give and take on that.
Yep.
Okay.
And just to add, I was gonna add that point as well, is our our truck rolls being box reliability issues, there is a customer service impact to that. So, some of this is, there's also intangible value to having a more reliable platform, so you don't have to have a phone call to say, my TV's not working, and it happens more often than we like with these newer boxes.
And what's the process for the return, when we switch to Minerva, the process for the return of the boxes? Is there any value? Can we resell these boxes? I assume not, that kind of a thing. What's that process look like?
Sure, we ask that they come, and Rick, please correct me if I misstate anything, but same with any move out, we ask that the equipment is returned to the front office, and then the bill is credited accordingly. And then I'm going to say most, if not all the time, there isn't a resale value, so we have an ongoing recycling program that we work with to take those off our hands.
Is there a cost associated with that to recycle?
Yes.
I believe there is.
All right.
A lot of boxes.
So
And
we're
then-
gonna lose money and
Well,
spend more.
initially, we'll definitely be keeping, usable boxes in inventory just because they're hard to get now as it
Yes.
is, like the old boxes, they're not making new ones, so we'll probably keep those for the short term in the events, something happens where we have to replace some mass metal boxes.
But in the long term, we're not gonna have these, like, they're all gonna be gone, right?
I have a VCR in my basement if you want that.
Wow.
It's probably newer.
Yeah, right. And then when you say credit back on the boxes, is that when you're saying folks are over 3? Or or is there a deposit?
Deposit.
So are we holding in a separate account in all these deposits, or is that in our regular operating account?
That is a good question. I believe, I think it's all mixed in, and if you don't, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if you don't return your box, it's just a charge you get on your bill. So there isn't a special escrow or anything like that. It's just, if you don't return it, you're charged a fee.
I think it'd be good at the next meeting, maybe just get a little modeling on what the Minerva switch looks like and what we think, modeling out this process and the cost and the estimates and, the runs, and
Sure.
trying to make some assumptions to say, okay, we're in, right? We're in this, but just to give us, because I think you'll need this for budgeting anyway, right? Just to give us an idea of, okay, what does this look like a year from now relative to your projections on cost, or, I think, because there's a lot of questions we just had on
Yeah, sure.
a box, right?
And I think we need to take a look
We're
at
talking about a lot of boxes, and so that's a lot of deposits, a lot of credits, revenue loss, expense loss, fewer workers, it sounds like, fewer service calls. So all in, that's a lot of change,
Yeah,
actually.
cost benefits of the going to Minerva.
Yeah.
You know what I'm also envisioning is like everybody coming and like how's that process gonna work? Like lines of people like dropping off their
Can't imagine.
boxes, right?
Street runs.
Yeah, like how's that gonna?
And that's a great question. Interesting timing since Jim just walked in, but that's what we're trying to enhance too with the NISC project, is adding the granularity of what is the service call for? Is it for a service drop that's down, or is it a cable box failure? And so it's a great question, and that's part of the exercise to test, are we actually capturing our activities with respect to the service call.
Well, aren't there tickets and something as to why you're triggering a service call? Or do people just say, I don't know, it doesn't work, and there's no follow-through as to what the fix was?
The data is not as accurate as it should be out of the billing system because it was, they created with service tag IDs, years and years and years
Yeah,
ago.
right.
So they do choose an option typically, but they're not
May not
as
be
relatable as
uniform or,
it
yep.
So within ISC, that's all getting revamped and we'll have like very accurate reporting data.
Okay.
And
So-
you're looking at the data's coming in 3 different systems. So you have a cable system that is running those service orders that wasn't connected to the financial system. So there's no real way to quickly sync up the costs for what would be the different type of service orders because of that disparity. And we just had one bucket called customer install, which didn't give us any detail to say, when are we going out and just servicing people?
But now,
If you're asked a year from now,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Yeah, we just actually
We
had a
won't need
meeting
that
about that
information.
last week about how we're gonna break out, because we want more detail for that.
okay.
But we'll definitely take a look, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cable rate adjustment questions?
no, that's good.
Motion to approve the, I'm sorry, when do these go into effect?
Yeah.
When do the
January 1st.
billing, is it January 1st?
January 1st
Yeah.
to,
And for most customers, it's 10 and a quarter a month, is from what I could read, right?
Yes.
yep.
Okay, so with that, do we have a motion to accept or approve the cable rate adjustment?
Yes.
Okay, we have
A second?
Second, all in favor?
All right.
Aye, okay. That leads us to our final open session item, and that's the general manager's highlights. I turn it over to you, Mr. Roy.
Okay, and in an effort to leave additional time for our last topic, I'll just quickly cover some of these and some reasoning why I thought these legislative bits at the opening were noteworthy. So not to continue to beat the drum on rate increases and the turbulence of the energy sector, but one of the things here is energy efficiency and DR. This is, I put that in there to show the importance of the coordination between demand-side management and supply-side management. So early, we talked about the power supply policy and the role of MWEC. That's all supply side. But then our programming content with respect to weatherization and rebates and the adoption of other efficiency measures very much plays hand in hand with helping mitigate these costs. So that's, I think that was just noteworthy, which is why I incorporated in that. It refers to transmission build-out too, which is another important component, but I'll move forward from that. I had to add it in the oil heat. So, we talk about our increases for electric, but here, folks, in any town, and including ours, $1.97 to $5.71
Yeah, that's
bucks
incredible.
for oil. So we're here, fortunately, in a public setting, being able to talk about all the components that go into our rate adjustments. Here, if you need to buy oil or if you have gas heat, these are just costs. You don't know what's driving it. But here, you see a 3-fold increase or more in oil. It's tough out there. And then just to quickly cover a couple of these here, I think in some ways, in light of all of this, you see, Rhode Island Energy providing $64 in one-time credits. I just had to call attention to this, and I'm fully, supportive of all this, but I think it's important to toot our own horn a little bit. This is a $64 one-time credit. If you look at our rates compared to competing private sector utilities, as we reported in the past, and I haven't revised the numbers lately, which I think are better, but your average Shrewsbury electric consumer is saving $100 a month, every month, on their electric bill compared to National Grid. So we see press releases for $64, that's great. But what we don't see is the fact that if you live in Shrewsbury and you take our service, you're saving $100 every month just inherently by being here. So I think that's noteworthy. So, you know, just another, watchdog type of thing on ISO. So, and the last one, same theme. I'll just, at face value, you might not read into it this way, but so Maura Healy securing 1.7 million rate reduction for Berkshire Gas customers. You might ask, well, why would you incorporate that here? And again, in that same theme, just as I think another point of pride for SELCO, this is a 1.7 million rate reduction for all of Berkshire Gas customers. And so again, this is the stat we're going to refine and update over time to help toot our own horn in the same theme, 1.7 million. So if we have, again, that argument's sake, if your average Shrewsbury customer is saving $100 a month times 12 months, that's $1,200 times 15,000 meters. In Shrewsbury, we have a $15 million economic engine to residents and businesses year over year. I mean, that's, almost 15 times what this, press release is touting. So these are the statistics we're trying to bring to light to show that the way we're operating a utility here is far superior than what we're seeing here is a 1.7 million for millions of customers. So just as again, trying to hammer home some points of pride for ourselves. And then moving into HR, we've had a lot of HR activity, not reflected here because some of it's happening as we speak. But we hired, in a challenging recruiting environment, we hired Peter Bruno. So we were beefing up some of the knowledge that we lost with retirements in our substation group. So we're happy that he's on board. He comes to us with some experience from the private sector. We have actually started yesterday. Sorry, I'm pointing to the office. Customer service, new customer service representative, Elaine. So she's right in front. If you walk through the office, you can say hello. And as I mentioned, we'll have a successor to Jackie starting December 1.
Do you have that candidate? Do you know the candidate now?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great.
Yep. So we have a start date of December 1. And we just, yesterday, I just signed the offer letter for a new electrical engineer. So we'll be able to report on that next month. So
Now, do all the substation engineers and electrical engineers, are they all down on Municipal Drive?
Yes.
Okay, so they're not out at like Rolfe or anything like this, the remote people, they're all, okay.
Yep, they all originate at Municipal Drive, and
Yeah.
largely it's where the locker rooms are.
Mhm.
But then they disperse from there.
Excuse me, and to Tracy's credit, she also hired 2 cable techs. One started yesterday.
I was
Right.
saving that for next month.
Oh, okay.
Jesus.
No, she has been working very hard lately.
So we did get you. Yep.
Now, are those for the cable techs, those are for
Yes.
installs as we go into fiber, to help install it in the homes?
Yes, and some of the,
Along those
that's
lines.
replacement for some of the techs that went to the electric department. One
Ah,
went to
okay.
meters and the other one went to the line.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, don't we have outside contractors doing the installs?
You have the contractors doing the actual cable, actually putting the fiber down the poles, but going into the homes, I think it's our own.
No.
No.
We do have some contractors
Supplement.
doing, but,
It's all s-
okay,
it's
yeah,
all
you're right,
subcontractors.
you're right, they do, it was the same thing.
There's
with
no more
ours.
Gino.
Yeah,
That knows everything.
Service calls are in-house though.
okay,
so
okay,
Installations are outsourced.
Our subs.
yeah, there's a name from the past.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then we just quickly, briefly detailed some of our operational items. Most of the activity here, I'll skip to the broadband side. We have our fiber project that obviously is always a noteworthy item. So you can see our progress on the nodes. And then I just wanted to cover, not to glance over the fiber because that is very important, but we were closing out some of the bids. IFB 7 that started last month, And we've been pleased with the contractor. They're really moving right along. And we have two other, I think I spoke to this before, but we have two other civil, if you will, contractors that are going through, repairing ducts and trying to stay ahead of the winter freeze. So they've worked out very well. And we actually have them pulling fiber in because they've done so well. You know, they've been able to repair the ducts and even pull the fiber in to have it ready for the installers. So, so we're actually have a really good head of steam here going into the winter before everything starts to slow down when everything's full of ice. And so we just.
Just a question, when a node is sunsetted, what happens to the customers that haven't converted, or is that impossible?
Great question. So we reach out proactively to try and encourage the swap. We have not, I forget which node, off the top of my head, which nodes we actually required.
3 and 27, where
3 and
there's
27.
only one, well,
Yeah.
at the time we pulled this report, there was only one customer left
One.
in each node.
Because you communicated more to say, is this the end, this is the end, so you got
Yes.
the conversion. So basically, that's working, is to, as
Yeah,
you
and-
close a node, you're getting
And
100%.
it's not that we're shutting down their internet, we're just letting them know.
This is, you have
we-
to,
Yeah, we have to migrate you.
I got you, so,
Or we're gonna shut down your internet.
yeah.
Eventually, but we haven't got there.
Now, do we eventually go back over our, utility poles and actually take the cable off the utility poles?
Don't scare Gordon yet.
Huh?
Yeah, oh, there he is. He's
Gordon,
over there,
yeah.
Gordon.
I thought we were
Not at this point, but probably eventually.
Yeah.
I thought we were using that cable to as a guide wire to hang the fiber off.
Let's not do it.
Yeah.
It depends. We do have some overlap, I mean, Gordon's the expert, but we do have some overlashing areas where we use it as a supporting structure for
Yeah.
fiber.
No, but eventually, it's
But
just,
eventually, yes.
there's so much stuff on these utility poles now that in the middle of a snowstorm, you don't need to be going out there trying to, go through a bunch of stuff that's no longer
No
usable or needed and whatnot. I'm just looking at the,
And we are already removing whatever we can remove.
okay,
There were like spare cables from
sure,
the past that
okay.
are no longer needed, and yes, when we start hanging fiber, Gordon's crew will take
Okay.
it down.
How many nodes are there?
Sorry.
Sorry.
How many nodes? Is it?
64,
Okay, I was gonna say 70.
Well,
and two new fiber nodes, 60,
Yeah, like 67.
67.
yeah,
Getting there.
What is the node on Maple Ave? 'Cause
there's
I
a
have-
couple, there's a couple.
The what?
There's a couple of them.
Couple of nodes on Maple
Couple.
Ave, yeah.
And are those activated?
Yeah, those are active. The only ones that we're shutting down are the one near, the municipal area, Bob Hoagland's municipal area, by Mike Hale's house,
Mhm.
and which one is the other one? 27, where's 27?
27, that's.
Quinsigamon.
South Quinsigamon,
Lake Street,
yeah, Lake Street.
Grove
That's
Street
it.
area.
Okay.
We could touch on Minerva as well. We did the soft launch, if you will, on November 1, and then this, today.
I was just
Today's the 15th. Yeah, today's the more official launch of Minerva commercially. So that's,
What does that mean?
we'll proactively reach out to customers to encourage them to swap. We've completed the beta testing. I heard there was some really good feedback about some vintage Fire Sticks, so we worked out a number of bugs, and so now it's ready for prime time as of today. So if you're,
We'll be targeting customers that, have our internet service, because that makes everything easier. You have our internet service. So we have data on, specific customer groups that we'll be targeting. We'll be working with marketing on that. And then, as new customers come in and sign up, it'll be the option that we wanna, suggest to them.
So it's not gonna cost them anything to switch over?
No, well, it all depends on what package and combination you have.
Yeah.
Some customers will save money, some customers, like, if they have to go up in service, might pay a little bit more, or they'll just keep the same packages that they have.
Now, if a person had the senior discount and now wants to go to Minerva,
Not targeting any of.
too bad, so sad, do we pull the rug out from underneath that
Yeah.
senior discount?
So, so we're not targeting any of the senior discount.
Yeah.
We'll cross that bridge when
I think that's part of the next item.
Yeah.
So also, like, customers that are video-only subscribers, they don't have our internet, they don't have internet in their home, this uses the internet to run, we're not targeting any of those customers until we have, you know, that solution we had talked about in the past, the set-top box solution to act like a traditional cable box, and then we'll provide that service to those customers. That is not ready yet.
Okay.
It's a lot
Yeah,
more.
our goal is to reach the customers that have a lot of set-top boxes. They will see significantly a lot of savings. For example, if you have a gateway, a Tivo gateway, that's a $15 item, just the rental fee. If you have the minis, that's a $5 rental fee. So there's customers that have multiple gateways, multiple minis.
Yeah.
So those are the customers that we're gonna be reaching out first, and those customers have, you know, the highest internet packages and fast internet and Wi-Fi. So I think those are the customers that will see the biggest benefit, and
Yeah,
they want with smart TVs, and
right.
so that's gonna be our market
Right.
first.
All right.
Anything else?
So just, I know, actually, we touched on a couple of these, but one of these I just wanted to highlight as a data point for our next discussion too is with Water Department. We're working with them to connect 18 sites for SCADA monitoring. And so that, you know, right now is, I guess, an important consideration as part of our franchise obligations. So I think that's one thing we're absolutely supporting that, but I just wanted to highlight that here, that 18 SCADA sites for water are part of our, are currently offered to water free of charge.
And there was actually a request of 35, and we said, like, we can only handle so many. So we kind of, they also don't have the manpower to get them all online, but I think their goal is actually 35, 32 by next year.
Okay. Well, we'll do the first 18 and see how it
We'll do
goes.
the first 18 this year.
And SCADA does what for them?
SCADA is what allows them to turn on pumps, water pumps. So for example, they have water tanks or sewer. They also have for the drainage.
Yep.
So this pump are turned on remotely. They also get diagnostics, you know, water levels, and if something is clogged, that's how they get it out of their system. So they need an internet connection, and they have a server that IT manages for them or helps them managing.
Okay.
So,
Currently, though, it's like manual, there's no
yes,
SCADA?
there's
Wow.
a lot of manual work that they have to do. And for example, when this sewer is, you see these overflows, it's because there's no one, you know, available or reachable to turn them on or off.
I'm assuming we're running fiber to these locations?
It's a mix. It doesn't matter what they run on. It's
Okay.
just an on and off. So
Yeah.
it's very little data that they
Yeah,
need.
okay.
But just to add to that, that is sewer, that's the dirty water.
Yeah.
We already have all the water sites already connected.
Oh, okay.
But they will have to migrate to fiber at one point, because once we start shutting off the cable plant, they'll all have to be migrated over to a fiber. But where fiber is available, they're getting connected with fiber.
Okay, that's why there's so many, because it's sewer. There's a lot more
Yes.
sewer pumps in town than water pumps.
Sure.
I think we did sewer water, the clean water about 5-6 years ago. We did them all.
That's good.
Great.
And then we briefly touched, just in the interest of time, we touched on the VOD and pay-per-view, so that the stats are in there. That was good. We did have a fiber outage to Boston, not in Shrewsbury. It was a fiber break to our route there, so there's just highlights. We have a backup to Worcester, so everything worked as designed. That was just a noteworthy point.
Did something happen last week? Like this? Like the end of last week?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I couldn't hear.
No?
Yeah, I don't.
We have an
Yeah,
outage.
we had a piece of equipment that rebooted and
Oh, the reboot.
Yes, you're right.
caused
That's
about a
right.
10-minute outage
10 minutes.
for half of the cable modems in town.
Yep.
I didn't mention it because I had already submitted the report to God.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. That was, yeah, head-end reboot. Wow, good catch. And then, but that one, the difference being a head-end reboot is not significant enough to transfer our whole system to a different,
Right.
different route. And then some of these, I guess, there are just good things to know about, but not necessarily huge data-driven items. I do want to mention in here, I just want to make sure, okay, yeah, the first bullet point, GTA adjustment. So one of the things I just wanted to raise is we're looking potentially to add typically we have our spring and fall GTA adjustment, but given where energy prices are and just the costs that are part of this, I'm hoping we can add an agenda item next month to take a look to have a quarterly increase, increase the way things are going, but a quarterly adjustment instead of semi-annual. So if we start it next month, we can get ahead of the curve before we wait till the spring. I know there's folks, that would put us quite somewhere in the middle where some are meeting still semi-annually. Other utilities I know have a monthly agenda item that they either keep or cancel. I think quarterly would be helpful, and so just as a noteworthy point, I'm targeting bringing an analysis forward next month.
If we do that on a quarterly basis, just how are we gonna notify our users? Yeah. Like, because right now, right, we do it like a month ahead of time, and so like if we're doing this on a quarterly basis, it seems like, do we have, I mean, not that I'm against it, I'm just saying that how do we make the change and notify people on a quarterly basis versus semi-annually?
So our notification is much further, it's much larger window than required, so we'll just shorten that a little bit. So my thought is if we meet in December, then it would be a Feb 1 increase. So that gives another month. So December 1, our last vote goes into play. It's a short window, there's a 2-month, but at least it's an incremental increase as opposed to all at one time.
So it's more like a 30 or 45-day notice?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. I just have one, a small pet peeve of mine that I've noted. There's a term I learned, and maybe Mr. Collins can help me. The term that you ice the icing of a EV charger connection.
Oh.
What's that?
Pat, can you just address that real quick as to what that term invokes as to?
Yeah, it's when internal combustion engine vehicle ICE parks in an EV charging spot. So like out here, sometimes it's intentional just to displace EVs from charging.
Really?
And we've seen it a bit around town. I'm actually meeting with our planning department later this morning to discuss this. There might be an opportunity to pass a bylaw or something that can prevent this.
Okay, the only reason I bring it up is I noticed as well in some readings about there's just some deliberate effort by people who are totally against EV to pull into these spots, sometimes even T-boning the facility so nobody could get near the cord whatsoever, and precluding people from actually using it. And right now, it's done like a handicap spot where you get fined, now $300 based on town meeting. If you use a handicap spot, there is no charge right now or warning
You
at all.
mean
To plug into an to park in an EV spot that's when you're driving an ICE internal combustion engine. So, anyways, I just bring that up as being awareness of folks that it's something that's coming down the pike. There's, no good deal goes unpunished. You put EV people in, people are gonna
That's right.
Why
deliberately
can't we
try
all
to
just
sabotage
get
it.
along?
Yeah. Some people just don't play well with others. Okay. With that, I don't have I have. The bottom line is we've completed the agenda for the open meeting, and we intend on going into an executive session. And so It'll take a roll call vote to go do that, but there's some verbiage that I will go through first, is that we've intentioned to go into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A 10, to discuss trade secrets or confidential, competitively sensitive, or other proprietary information provided in the course of activities conducted by a governmental body as an energy supplier under a license granted by the Department of Public Utilities pursuant to General Law, Chapter 164, Paragraph 1, Foxtrot, Board of Selectmen Cable Franchise Agreement. With that said, I will entertain a motion to go into executive session and not to return to public, to an open session. Do I have a?
Yes, do we have to move to end the regular?
Well, we'll do that, yeah, as part of this will be to
What's
move,
part
to
of it?
to close the open session and to
So
go into
moved.
executive session, not to return to
Not
open
to
session.
return to-
Okay.
yes.
Do I have a motion to accept that?
Yes.
Yes, Tony, okay.
Second.
Second, okay. It requiring a roll call vote. Mr. Ruffolo?
Yes.
Okay. Maria?
Yes.
Okay. Bob Holland, yes?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
Okay, okay. As of, whatever time it is now, it's
8:32.
8:32. We've closed the open meeting, and we will re-adjourn in executive session. I want to thank all the people for viewing, and look forward to talking with everybody next month. Take care.
Thank you.